We can do this on our own. And there's a pride that comes. And Jonah 2:8 says this, "They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy." Forsake their own mercy. You are seeing the story of a young man who forsook his own mercy. Who cast his own mercy away because he was so hurt and he allowed bitterness to come in and be a part of his life. Jonah 2:9 says, "But I will sacrifice unto thee with a voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that which I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon dry land." There's a place that we go to that is a place where God deals with the bitter, deals with the hurt, deals with those that are righteous and do things not with a perfect heart. And we heard about that last week. You know, it's the belly of that whale. It's the Jonah. Bitterness will cause us to forsake our own mercy. And what we sow, we are definitely going to reap. We gather up to share with those returning. So when they do come home, they will feel at home. Did you catch that? We gather. We gather and share with those who are returning, so when they come home, they will feel at home. Man says, "What beautiful flowers." Yes, no thanks to you. But God says, "What beautiful flowers. I planted them so that they'd be coming up when you came back." There's the thought of restoration versus the thought of putting it in somebody's face. And the love of the Father here on Father's Day that's found in Luke the 15th chapter is so prevalent and so powerful. Love covers a multitude of sin. Now, I always thought about this whole scenario here. This father was very wealthy. Everybody know that? This father was very wealthy. Do you think he doesn't know where his son was? Do you think he didn't have his spies out knowing exactly where his son was? Do you think he knew? Of course he did. He knew every prostitute he'd been with. He knew every sin he committed. He knew everything that he was spending out there. Did he go to help him when he was faltering in the pigsty? Absolutely not. He had to let his son come back on his own. And that's the way a loving father is. He keeps tabs on him. And the spies, I believe, came back right before the son got there and said he's on his way. We just passed him on the road. He's on his way. And so the father, who'd been waiting and watching, I believe got the report from his inside information. So that when he saw his son afar off, he ran. He knew who it was. And he ran to meet him. And I thought how beautiful this story is, because he ran to him and he said, my son was dead, but now he's alive. And the father said to his servants, "Bring forth the best robe, put it on him, put a ring upon his hand, and put shoes upon his feet." I think about the idea that his father was going to cover him. He was going to cover him. He wasn't going to let him bear that shame naked, but he was going to cover him with the robe. And then he took the ring and put it upon his finger. He didn't say, "Well, you know what? You come back and we'll test you out for 6 months. You go through a 6-month healing period. We'll put you on the back pew. And if you test out in the next 6 months, well, then we'll let you maybe get up and give a testimony or something." He put that ring on his finger immediately and sent him back to what he was called to do as his son. Because his son said, "Father, forgive me." And when he said, "Father, forgive me," immediately, suddenly, the power and the authority was restored unto him as he came back.
Yes.
The Father immediately gave him his authority back. The Father immediately gave him his position back. The Father took and put shoes upon his feet. Do you realize that he didn't even say to him, I want you to wash your feet first and then you can put your shoes back on. He let him put his shoes, he let him put those shoes on dirty feet. There was no foot washing. He just put the shoes right on him. That's powerful about the love of God right there. That's powerful about the love of God right there. And the Father, I can imagine the Son saying, you know, I just don't know why you want me anymore. I don't know why you'd want to bless me like you're blessing me when I have these things in my past. When I've done so much to injure you and injure the family. And the Father said, you're not coming home to a home of I told you so. You're not coming home to a place of regret. You're coming home to a place of rejoicing. And thus, the dancing and the music and the merriment, because that son was not to come home to a place of regret, but he was to come home to a place of rejoicing. And anytime somebody wants to come home, it's always going to be to a place of rejoicing, because that's what a loving Father does.
Yes, it is.
That's what a loving Father does. And not only does the loving Father love the one that was away and spent everything on his riotous living, then the Father has to do and clean up the collateral damage to the one that's hurt, to the one that was righteous but not with a perfect heart, to the one who had done all the right things but with all the wrong attitude. And he couldn't understand. He was in the field. He heard the dancing. He wondered what was going on. He noticed that the fatted calf was being killed. And he didn't understand. He said, you know what? I've done all the right things for you. I stayed here and he left you. And the Father said, it's bigger than you are. This is bigger than you are. This goes deeper than who you are. This is all about bringing back to life a soul that was dead. And the one son said, as soon as he said, as soon as his son was come, he said, as soon as your son has come back, he said, he's devoured his living with harlots, and you killed him a fatted calf. The son couldn't get past the forgive me, Father. That's the point right there. That's the little gateway right there that some of the church can't get through. And instead of welcoming his brother home, he puts on the accusation of his past. I've been there. I know what that's like to come home and to be forgiven. But I also know what it's like to come home and have people watch me with a watchful eye, with a careful look, reminding the father of his past. But you know what? That past was no longer there. That past was washed away in the forgive me. And he couldn't see it.
That's good.
He couldn't see it. And he said finally to him, son, you're always with me. You're always with me. And all I have is yours. It was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do, what we did. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, was lost and is found. Now we read that and we think to ourselves, what a piece of work that older brother was. But, you see how powerful the father was there? Just as he had an impact on that younger son, I believe right here, he had the impact on the elder son. And I believe it doesn't say it in here, but I want to infer this. I want to infer that that night, those two brothers were on the same dance floor together. I want to believe that those two brothers were on that same dance floor together. And they found a place of rejoicing. And they knew that their house was a place of their father's love. Because remember, that house was representative of the love of the father, not the bitterness of the son. And how powerful is that? Amen?
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
That's good.